Hi everyone, thank you so much for watching this video today. The reason I produced this video is because of all the conversations I've had over the last few months talking to friends and colleagues and clients about producing their very first podcast, either for themselves or maybe even for their business. And obviously a common question is, what's this going to cost? And the common answer is, it depends on how much you want to spend. But what we're going to talk about today is being able to produce a quality show without having to spend a whole lot of money at all. We're going to call it creating a podcast on the cheap. And this is actually what I did when I launched my first podcast in 2011, and I think it's going to help you because it's already helped some other people and friends and clients produce their very first show and make it sound really, really good. So let's start off first with a microphone. Now, when I decided to launch my first podcast, the only microphone I really had was a headset and a mic that I used for gaming. And when I tried to record something on that, it didn't sound very good. So as opposed to immediately jumping online and trying to find something to order, I decided to go to some department stores to look in maybe the karaoke mic section or something like that that I could plug into my computer and at least upgrade my sound. So I went into Target and I went into that kind of music, guitar, and karaoke mic section, and I found a podcast mic. And this is the one that I found. It's the Samson Q2u USB Microphone. And this costs generally about $60 to $70. And you're going to find a microphone that plugs into your USB port. It has a stand and a headset. And it's a good quality mic. In fact, when I first saw this, not only was I surprised to find it at Target with the other microphones and stuff, but I got out my phone and I looked it up to see if there were some reviews and some podcasters that had even used this mic. And sure enough, I found these podcasters that had written a review on it, and they said what we're talking about today. If you need a good quality sound and you don't want to spend over $100, this is going to work perfectly for you. So now you have a microphone, because I can tell you that I've suggested this mic to other people and they too have found it in their local Target. So check out Target. If you have one close by, they'll have it. You can also obviously look online and find a microphone like it, or you can still find this one online too, I bet. Alright, so now we have the microphone. Now we need a means to record ourselves and edit our work and, you know, make adjustments on volume and things of that nature. And again, there are lots of options out there. I have friends who use GarageBand. Obviously, Adobe Audition is a really good tool. But remember, we're talking about doing things on the cheap. So how about free? And this is a common software that a lot of podcasters use. You can find it online and it's free. You can download it and immediately put it to use. It is compatible with this mic, the Samson mic, and that is Audacity. And you can see that I have a track up here all set to go. I can, you know, adjust the volumes, make edits, tighten things up. And Audacity is a really good tool. And then you're going to export your file and upload it to whatever service is hosting your podcast, and we'll get to that in a minute. But another element of your podcast is production elements, meaning some music for your introduction or for bumpers or stings, and you know, production elements like that that are going to enhance the sound of your show. Well, I'm going to give you two examples of places you can go. Number one is the Music Bakery. Now, the Music Bakery's been around for a long time, and you can search for any type of music you're looking for by genre or even mood. You're usually going to be able to find a track that's maybe 60 to 120 seconds long, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and then underneath it, that same song is going to get broken down into like 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 15, and they all have different price ranges for those, because you may only want, you know, a short version of it for a bumper or whatnot. But what you could do is you could take that longer version and just buy that alone, and then just cut it up in a way that allows you to use other aspects of the song for a bumper or even the close of your show. So that's an option. And you're going to find that pretty much all the music on the Music Bakery are broken down by price pretty much the same for every single song you find. Now, if you're wanting a little more flexibility and maybe even some more selection, and when I say flexibility, I mean financial flexibility, I would recommend pond5.com, P-O-N-D, the number 5.com. This is kind of a content aggregator where people produce content, upload it for you to purchase. And because there's so much of it, the price ranges are going to be very, very different. You very well may find a 2-minute song for $5 or maybe even cheaper. It just depends on the person who put it up and what kind of content it is. But you're going to find stings and bumpers and music of all types here. And as you'll see, if you have any needs for graphics or video or After Effects, you can buy those as well. But there are plenty of options for sound effects and music on Pond 5 that you can put into your podcast. In fact, I use Pond 5 a lot for my Assembly of Geeks podcast because there's tons of music and sound effects in that show. Now, what if you want to conduct interviews or maybe even have co-hosts using a tool like Skype? You're obviously going to need a way to record your conversation or your interviews. And there are a number of tools online out there that will allow you to do that. And you can record video and or audio. The program that I've been using since 2011 is one called Evayer, and you can get Evayer for $20 on their website. You download it and you can record your conversations through Skype, and it will export it in a folder as an MP3, and you can bring it into Audacity. Now what we need to focus on is getting that show up on the internet and distributed. So you're going to want to find a place to host your podcast, get you an RSS feed so that you can be on iTunes and Stitcher and be able to put your show on your website and whatnot. There are a lot of options out there, a whole lot. And I'm going to give you one of the more common places people go, and that is Libsyn, Liberated Syndication. As far as how much you're going to spend here, it just kind of depends on how long your show is, how big of a file it's going to create, and also what other features you want. Like if you're going to want advanced statistics, and if you're going to want apps and other bells and whistles to your podcast. If you just want to start off with just a simple show and just look at number of downloads, it'll do that. But if you want to break it down into where people are listening, like what part of the country, and whether they're using their phones or whether they're listening on your site or whether they're listening on iTunes, you can do that depending on what you're willing to spend. But it's just like anything else as it relates to podcasts. You can just start off small, you can start off simple, and then as you get going, if you really like what you're doing and you want to enhance your sound or you want to enhance your equipment, you can always upgrade. One of the things you're going to want to have when you start looking into hosting and distributing your podcast on places like iTunes is you're going to want to find a way to get a logo developed for your show, a good high resolution logo. For iTunes, they'd like it to be 1400 by 1400 pixels. All right, so now we have a microphone, we have an editing software, we have a way to record co-hosts and guests on Skype, we have options regarding production, and a place to host. From this point on, I'd like to leave you with a couple other pieces of advice. Number one is never stop learning. And there are a lot of really solid podcast experts out there, people like Cliff Ravenscraft, who does a podcast on podcasting, and his website is podcastanswerman.com. There are also plenty of other people out there that give really sound advice, no pun intended, on podcasting. And I also want to let you know some of the things that I can do for you. At greatscottideas.com, you'll see a number of the services that I provide to help podcasters produce the best show possible. And that includes I do voiceover for introductions. I help people with production elements and do some consulting as well regarding the format of the show and the flow of the program. So if you're interested in that, feel free to contact me at any time. I've helped a lot of different people. My rates are very affordable since we are talking about on the cheap, so I wanted to let you know about that as well. One last thing, now that you're going to be able to produce your very first show, something that I've heard Cliff and other experts recommend is it might be a good idea to go ahead and produce your first 5 or 6 shows and not even post them. Maybe don't post that first show until you start getting into the 8th, 9th, and 10th episode. Mainly because you're going to find that that first episode and that 10th episode are likely to sound very, very different. I know for me, I learned that the hard way. I didn't have someone give me that advice when I first started. And sure enough, I went ahead and put my very first episode up online, and my show sounded completely different by the time I had posted my 7th. So maybe do a couple of test shows or a few test shows to see how things flow and how you like things. Get some feedback from friends before you put that very first one up there for the internet world to hear. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and if you have any other questions, feel free to comment or send me an email. I'm more than happy to answer any questions and help in any way I can. Thanks so much for watching, and look for another video regarding podcasting and content here very soon.